Hey guys, it's East Texas Wildman. I thought I'd do a video today on sharpening and care for your cutting tools while in the field. So let me get set up here and we'll get right into it. Okay guys, so what we got here is a number of tools that I may carry. I always have something, but this is just a variety of stuff here for sharpening my knives, axes, all that stuff, because with use they do get dull. A lot of people say that you don't really have to sharpen a knife as long as you strop it a lot. I have not had much luck with that. If I use a knife and then I go try to strop it, yeah, it tunes it up a little bit, but it never brings it back to that razor edge. So I usually use a stone and then follow it with a stropping. That doesn't mean I use a heavy grit stone all the time. A lot of times I use just a medium to a light grit stone, and then I'll strop it. Okay, so just a few different things here. These are all wet. All stones that I have are wet stones. You could use oil on them, but I don't like to have to carry oil with me. I carry a little bit of cooking oil in my cook set, but I don't want to have to use that to sharpen my tools. So I use water, or spit on them, like in the old days. And these are some bigger ones. This is a kind of a medium grit. This is a finer grit. This puck is for the axe, and it has not a fine, but I guess a medium grit on one side, and then a rough grit on the other side. And I'll get into showing you how you sharpen them. And then some other things that I may carry is a sharpening steel. This one here, a diamond rod, it's a fine grit. And these are okay. I'm not a huge fan. They're nice for like your fillet knives and stuff like that, but they will put an edge on your knife. Next I have what they call a sharpening steel, and it's a steel, just solid steel, and it has lines in it. It's almost like a super fine file, almost, except the lines don't go this way, they go lengthwise, and you just kind of strop really on this. And this is handy for finishing an edge. And then this is just a small whetstone that I carry, and it's kind of it's almost light. I wouldn't call it fine, but it's not a medium either. It's kind of in between. It's a good little whetstone. I've been carrying it around for a long time, and it gets the job done. Let's see, here's some other little things I got. This is also another stropping steel, a smaller one. It has I guess a more abrasive side and a less abrasive side. I think this may be diamond impregnated. I'm not sure. It's not like that one. It's different. And then here's a little case sharpener, and it's a sharpening stone on one side, but then it also has the carbide grooves that you just pull your blade through, which I hate. I think it's destructive to the knife, but it's quick and easy if you had to do it. And that's a good little stone I carry sometimes. And then here I just have a piece of leather with some polishing compound rubbed into it, and this is what I use to strop on. So, okay, so let's talk about sharpening knives. Now I'm not an expert. I'm no knife smith or anything else, but I've been doing it for a long time, and I have a way that works good for me. So what I do, first thing when I get a knife is I get rid of that factory edge, because the factory edge is about, I think it's like 20 or 25 degrees, and it's just a really sharp bevel or beveled edge, and I don't like it. It doesn't hold an edge as well. So what I do is when I get a knife, I sharpen it on a heavy stone until I get the angle of that I like. And and I take it and I'll get the angle that I like for the best edge. Okay, so now sharpening. Let's see, I'm going to use this medium stone here. Let me adjust this camera up just a little bit. Okay, so sharpening a knife. If you look at your edge, you can see that the angle of that final cutting edge on your knife. What you do is you lay your knife down, and if you rock it back and forth, you can feel that edge when it gets flat on your sharpening stone. That's what you're looking for. What I do is I always sharpen towards me like I'm cutting from bottom to top. And what I do is I do that 5 times this way, and then I turn it around and I do 5 times this way, doing the same thing. Same direction. After, and you'll feel it as you're doing it, as you're working, especially with a lubricated stone. I haven't wet this stone. But you'll feel it, it'll start to get smoother and smoother on your stone. You'll quit hitting little bumps and everything, and it'll start getting smoother and smoother. Once I've reached that point, then I start counting down. I'll do 4 this way, 4 this way, 3 this way, 3 this way, 2 this way, 2 this way, and then 1 and 1. And what that does is it works off the edge burr. See, as you're sharpening the metal, as you're thinning the metal on the edge, it starts to get the really, really fine burr around the very tip of the edge, and as you sharpen, it pushes to one side or to the other side, and you'll feel the edge is not very sharp. You'll think it's not very sharp in a spot. But if you do a countdown on your stone like that, it works that edge off faster. But it's like taking a piece of metal and bending it back and forth until it breaks. That's what we're trying to do. After I've used a stone on a knife, I generally take my stropping material, and I'm going to have to move everything out of the way to do this. And on a strop, you take the edge of the knife, you don't cut into your leather. You push away from your edge and off. And I just do this a couple of times on either side. What I usually do is I set it on my leg. Just drop it like this. Just one time each side, going back and forth, and again you're just working off that little burr. And that's called stropping. And it puts a pretty good edge on a knife. So this one was pretty sharp to start with, but okay, so that's how a knife is sharpened. Let's see. We can also use, a diamond rod, which I don't do it very often, and it's the same thing, except most people do one side or the other like this, like you're in the kitchen. And that's good. It'll put an edge on a knife. It's not very smooth, polished edge, but it's a good edge and does it quick. So if you're cleaning an animal or something like that, you need to touch up your knife, this is a good way to do it, just like this. Okay? Now, the sharpening steel, or is I do it the same way as that steel, just going back and forth. And to me, this is the same thing as stropping, except instead of being on leather where you're going backwards, you use it like you're cutting it. You just run your edge. So that's that. Okay. All right, now axes. Mine's a little dirty. I've been using it today. Let's see, move this out of the way. Okay, for an axe, I use a puck. It's what they call a honing puck, and it has a smooth side, and then a heavy side, heavy grit side. So my edge has not been damaged at all. So all I usually use is the finer side of it. And because of an axe edge is not, most axe edges are not a perfect V to the point. It's more of a rounded point, a rounded edge to the point. So I'm not sharpening the edge like I would a knife. What I do is I work to it. So you see on my knife, on my edge of my axe, I have a shoulder, and then I have an edge here. So what I do generally is I'll start on the shoulder, and I'll go in a circular motion and work my way all the way up to the top, and then all the way back down. And I can see where I've been hitting. And then as I progress, I move up a little bit more on the shoulder, and I do the same thing, up and then down. And then finally I'll get to the edge, and I do all the way up and all the way down. And I do that on both sides. See, the best way I do is like this. And then I work shoulder, move up, move the center, and then I move to the edge. Just like that. Okay, if you ever have a question on where you're getting your edge, if you're hitting your edge, if you're hitting the whole shoulder of the edge, you can take a black Sharpie and color in the silver, the part that you hone, color it in with the black Sharpie on both sides, and then hone. And you'll see your line on as you hone it. You'll take off that black marker. So that way you can make sure you get the whole edge. And you can do the same thing on a knife edge too. A lot of times, like on my Scandi grind knives, because I have a flat edge here, I'll do the same thing. I'll fill this in with black Sharpie, make it color it black, and then when I hone, it makes sure that I'm keeping that edge flat. I'm not changing the angle of my edge when I'm sharpening it, because it's easy to put a false edge on the end of a Scandi grind if you're not careful. So, but they're pretty easy to sharpen. Okay, so now care for my knives and all my tools that are steel. I carry a tool pouch, and this has my puck in it and my sharpening tools that I'm carrying. But I also carry a piece of just triple-aught steel wool without the soap in it. Just plain old straight steel wool. Carry a little rag and some fixing wax. Now, I don't carry oil, like I said, for my stones, but to protect my metal from rust, I'll just take a little bit of this fixing wax, put it on a rag, and then wipe down my steel parts. Whether it's my gun, whether it's the edge of my knife, or my whole blade, just kind of wipe it down a little bit. And for you that don't know, fixing wax, this is stuff I made myself. You can buy it. Wilderness Outfitters, Dave Canterbury, he sells fixing wax, and I think if you get on the internet you can find several other places that sell it also, but you can find recipes on the internet also to make your own, and it's pretty easy. It's lard, beeswax, lanolin is what I have in this one with this batch, and it's not real hard, it's kind of soft, and it does a real good job of protecting your metal from rust. So just a few quick tips on how to maintain your steel and edged tools while you're in the woods. Alright guys, it's East Texas Wildman. Get out there, it's a beautiful weekend. God bless.